Hello everybody and welcome to the October 2024 update from Clydebridge station. In this month's update we're going to be installing production style dummy lights over the advertising hoardings opposite platform 1. We'll be doing some scenic work below those hoardings as well. I'll also be making a set of steps that will go from platform 1 onto the track level, and there's a new locomotive that's arrived at Clydebridge station as well, and it's another celebrity machine which you'll see later on in the programme. In addition to all of that, there'll be the usual shout outs to the various layouts and other people as well. And I'll start off as usual with my two regular shout outs to the two people who got me back into railway modelling many years ago. David Watson with his layout Dean Park Station, and Richard Warren with his layout Everard Junction. So please do check them out here on YouTube. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell icon to be notified of new videos coming on the channel. There's usually at least one per calendar month. So with all of that out the road, all aboard and enjoy the programme, and any comments, queries, suggestions, please leave them in the comments box below, and thank you for watching in advance. At the end of the September 2024 update, I showed you this dummy light that I've made to go over one of the billboards. It's actually based upon lights that went over some billboards in urban locations, particularly in the 80s and 90s when this layout was actually set. Now, I took inspiration from a billboard that used to be on a building, on the side of a building near Sudbury Hill London Underground station on the Piccadilly line. That billboard is long gone, but it did have a light shining down below it, and it had two thin poles adjoining it to the wall. Obviously I've tried that already and it's quite frankly not worked, so I've had to resort to doing it this way, making the billboards look like the billboard light like that. So that's the prototype one. It's still standing, which is remarkable. What we're going to do is show you how I'm going to make the production ones, and a couple of differences to mention to you with the production ones is they'll actually have 4 of these pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than 2, to try and make them a bit stronger. That might not necessarily be aesthetically pleasing, but really the alternative is to try and drill into this and do other things, and I'm not prepared to do that. Once it's up, I'll have a look at it, and we'll try and get possibly some wires put in as well. Again, just to stress to you, these will be dummy ones. These will not be lit up for real. So I'll get all my equipment ready and I'll show you how I'm going to make these. And if I could just make a little point to you as well, I haven't actually seen real ones that are operational or could be made dummy ones which are off the shelf like this. If anybody happens to know of any manufacturers, could you either comment on it in this video or on Facebook as well, so that others can actually get the benefit too. In order to make one of these, what I'm going to be using is Scale Model Senior modelling card. I'll also need a steel rule and a craft knife, Yoo-hoo glue to glue them together, and then acrylic spray paint. I've got white and silver. They're readily available from most shops. What will happen is I'll be cutting the modelling card 9 centimetres long, half a centimetre wide, and I need 2 of those per light. Now on reflection I'm thinking maybe just 3 joining pieces rather than two, and they are I'm sure it's 1.5 centimetres. Yeah, 1.5 centimetres by 0.5 centimetre. Again, two layers joined together. The main part of the light will be spray painted white, solid for the joining parts. They receive at least 2 coats. These will be sprayed outside, and even though I'm going to be doing it outside, I'll still be wearing goggles and a mask when doing the spraying, and you should do the same. I'll get on now and I'll cut the first pieces and then get them glued together and start spraying. Now that's the 6 billboards got lights. There's the prototype that I've done in this September update. That will eventually be replaced by one of these production ones. The thing I'll say about the production ones is, this is a good example of it here, that these supporting pillars are not the same dimensions as some of the other ones. The billboard lights are up though. 2 pieces of modelling card from Scale Model Scenery which have been sprayed white, and 3 shorter pieces sprayed silver. A couple of coats of silver, and then they're glued up, and they were propped up by a couple of pieces of spare bits of blanking board that I've had from something else that I bought from Scale Model Scenery, and a tester pot, a paint tester pot. I'm going to have a look at the actual photograph from Sudbury Hill again of the light that was on the billboard used to be there, because I presume there'll be maybe a cable coming down and going along, and there'll be little junction boxes. I'm presuming that anyway, so that's something I'll have to have a look at. I may not get it done in this update, but I think what I'll do is I'll hold that over for the November update if that's the case. I'm not going to bring the push-pull train back in right now though, because I'm wanting to get on with some more scenic work here. And there's going to be 2 things that we'll be doing. We'll be making some steps to go onto the platform, and we'll be doing some scenic work along here. And it'll be the steps that I'll be doing first. But we'll come to that in a few minutes. Before our next item, quick shout out to a gentleman on Instagram called Jeff Mull Music. I'll put the link to his Instagram in the description below. And he's an unsigned singer and guitarist from the northeast of England, so if you could please check him out. One of his videos to a tune called It Is What It Is was actually filmed on a disused section of an old railway, the Bowes Railway, near Gateshead. Those of you familiar with old colliery railways in the northeast of England will know the location I'm talking about. I said I won't have the push-pull train running in at the moment, but what I'm going to do is get the parcels train running in, because the locomotive pulling it is the next part of this video. We have a new locomotive here at Clydebridge station. And there we have the new arrival, and in terms of locomotive purchases, normal service is resumed because, excuse me, we have 47522 Doncaster Enterprise. So a Class 47 is new on the layout again. This is a Hornby Railroad version which I purchased from Scenic Hobbies down in Kirkcaldy, and I had the locomotive on pre-order. The locomotive carries the LNER apple green livery which was applied to it and for its naming ceremony at the Doncaster Depot Open Day in September 1987. Now, given the fact that this locomotive was purchased in September 2024, it's a very important anniversary for the actual locomotive. With it being a Hornby Railroad version, it is of course the budget version of the Hornby range, and it's therefore quite light compared to the normal Hornby or Bachmann 47s. So as a result, I've actually got a couple extra weights put into it. Jim Scobie at Scenic Hobbies in Kirkcaldy put the decoder in. It's an 8-pin decoder, and therefore with it being a railroad version, you don't have the, just turn it there, you don't have the operating lights that you would normally get on the, say, the Bachmann 47s. The LNER apple green livery, as you can see, is well produced, and this actually dates it to early 1988, well, sorry, summer 1989, sorry. I'll explain why I said 1988 in a minute, and the reason it dates it to that is it was actually allocated to Stratford Depot at that point. In fact, it was 1988, the 16th of May 1988, it was moved from Gateshead to Stratford Depot. It was later reallocated to Crewe in late 1989. When it was repainted into this livery, it had the BR emblem along here and word parcels on it. It was a trial livery for the parcels sector. What happened then was that the locomotive was used in this livery with the parcel branding for a couple of parcels trains and an intercity train, but it was decided the livery was not suitable for the parcels sector. The parcels branding was removed and the BR emblem moved closer to the second man's door. It then ran in this condition right up until late 1989. I believe it was October or November 1989 when it was involved in an accident at Dover Station. Now, what happened there was it was in collision with some coaching stock at Dover Priory Station, and the initial fears were that the locomotive was going to be a write-off. That's an important thing just to point out to you here. The locomotive has got two recessed head code panels, as you can see there. That's the only criticism I would make of this model, and I'll come to that in a minute. What actually happened was, with the real 47522, was it got a reprieve because 47645 was hauling a passenger train when it caught fire and suffered severe fire damage at Oxford. It was withdrawn and scrapped instead, and a cab from 47645 was put onto 47522, and it emerged from Stratford repainted in parcels livery in early 1990, well, summer 1990. It was the parcels red and grey livery that you will be familiar with on 474, 47569 and 47712. The locomotive, the model that you see here, therefore actually incorrectly has the recessed head code panels instead of flush cab ends at one end, because back in 1982, I believe, it was actually involved in an accident, and a cab had to be rebuilt, which meant it had a flush cab end at one end. It later received the recessed head code panel again when it got the cab from 47645. So that's the only thing that's really wrong in terms of the locomotive in that sense. Bachmann produced one of these in both double O gauge and in an N gauge for its sister operation, Graham Farish, many years ago, and I believe that it is actually correctly portrayed with a flush cab end, but please let me know in the comments below if that is actually the case. The locomotive livery is very well presented, and they've got the crest above the nameplate there. Each nameplates are actually supplied with the locomotive, but I have not fitted them. The Cockney Sparrow logo of Stratford Depot. It's how we can date this from May 1988 till roughly summer 1989. It has the data panel that you can see on there, and the black sunglasses effect going around the cab windows there. Sorry that the light's not actually helping out here. The black that's around the headcode panels I think is a little bit darker than what it should actually be, but I've got a photo of 4752, I can reference that later on. With it being a little bit lighter, it can have problems gripping the track, but in the video that you saw there, it was actually fine, although it did derail on one of the points. However, when I ran it the second time, it was fine. But as I say, it excuse me, it was actually fitted with weights. I paid for a couple of weights to be put into this to make it a little bit heavier. I had this locomotive on pre-order for some time from Scenic Hobbies, and this is the next thing I want to just simply say to you. I know that manufacturers do sell direct, but they do also allow model shops and retailers to take pre-orders. So my advice to you is go and check with your model shop and see if you can get an item on pre-order. I've actually got 2 more locomotives due next year, both on pre-order. And I've never ever pre-ordered something from Scenic Hobbies before. Model shops will also do mail order for you as well, and the beauty of this is that these model shops will be able to test the locomotive out for you beforehand. They have a test track at Scenic Hobbies, as they do many other model shops. I've seen the one at Harbour Hobbies in Edinburgh, and I was able to see this locomotive operating fine, and you saw operating there as well. 47522, the green livery is accurate as LNAR apple green, so it's not the BR green, and the white and black bands along the bottom of it there. One thing I would actually point out is that the buffers on the locomotive are not sprung. As I say, remember this is based upon the old lemur tooling, and I have to say they've updated it slightly, and they've still got it quite good. Compared to the current Bachmann offering, the roof grills, as you can see here, the radiator panels are fine, they're accurate. These aren't quite as accurate when I compare it to the grills there. See, if I go along there on 47484 and the previous Bachmann tooling of 47500 there, it just gives you a comparison. The roof is correctly detailed. Inevitably, with it being a budget model, the fans are part of the moulded assembly there rather than being separate. But the rest of the roof detailing is accurate, and I'm looking at the Bachmann model right now, and it doesn't have the aerials on either end, although I believe that originally in this livery it did not carry those aerials, so that actually could be quite, by pure luck, be quite correct. The other thing I've noticed as well is that all these parts here are absolutely accurate compared to the Bachmann one as well. One thing I would actually point out is that the clips that you see, you get a good view in there, so the little clips that you see there, they're not present on there, but I mean, that's nitpicking to say the least, and if you're going to weather this to cut at all, I think that's really nitpicking, so that I'm not too bothered about. Inevitably, with it being a budget model, you don't get the cab detailing in there, but nevertheless there's a driver's seat in there, so if you want to put a driver in, you can do so, but do remember that with it being a budget model, you don't get the space to put detailing on, like main reservoir pipes and brake pipes and ETS cables. So do please bear that in mind. So there you have it. 47522 Doncaster Enterprise, carrying the non-standard trial parcel sector livery in LNER apple green livery. As I say, Bachmann produced that many years ago in 00 gauge, so theirs will be a much more detailed machine compared to this one, and they've done it in N gauge for their Graham Farish range. They don't make it at the moment, so it's going to be a second-hand purchase if you're wanting to get the Bachmann model. And the beauty of this locomotive is that with it being a parcel sector machine, it then meant that it could turn up practically anywhere, and it didn't necessarily work parcels trains, although as you can see it's coupled to the parcels train here, but it did work passenger trains as well. In fact, a lot of the photographs I've seen of this locomotive, only 2 photos or 2 videos I've seen were of it hauling parcels trains. The rest of the time it was just passenger work it was doing. Just one last little point, you'll notice that the 5 numbers on the fleet number are actually together, and there's not the space like, say, you can see, there you go, see on 47573 there's a little space between the 47 and the 573. You'll notice there's no space there. That's actually correctly portrayed by Hornby. The real 47522, there was no space in between the two, the class number and the serial number. And there we go. If your layout is in an area where class 47s are cleared to pass, this is a good locomotive to purchase, despite its name. As I say, it can work on parcels traffic. It could also work on intercity traffic, and I've seen a photo of it working a Newcastle to Middlesbrough train at Sunderland in 1988. When it was substituting for a pacer, and I've also seen a photo of it working a Network South East train en route from Kingsland to London Liverpool Street. Now, when I was running this locomotive off camera and the shunter as well, I've still got the problem of the loss of power here. I notice this has come a bit loose here, so that's going to be a little task. Get that put back on, see if we can get current there. And it may be the case that I've got to actually take this cable up and then put a new one in and try and get it soldered on, see if we can get the power going right through. A little bit of pain in the neck, but hey ho. Now, that completes the locomotive review. So for the rest of the video, we're going to be doing some detailing work, which will involve putting some vegetation and a little bit of ballast into here. And we'll also be making a staircase to get down from the platform onto there, and I might put one down onto there. And in fact, it's a staircase that we're going to be going onto. But just before I do that, 2 shout outs for some layouts here on YouTube. Pride Parkway, check out Jeff's layout there, it's Pride Parkway. You'll find him here on YouTube. He doesn't update that often because of his work commitments. The other layout I want you to check out is Woodhill Parkway. Check out Woodhill Parkway, which incidentally is set in the same era as my layout. Pride Parkway is set in the LNER era. Right, let's build some stairs. Now, a lot of this I'm going to be doing off camera, but what I've worked out is I've measured the height of the scale model scenery platforms from the baseboard up to the top of platform level, and it comes to 1.8 centimetres. The problem I've got, of course, is that the cork doesn't come all the way to the platform. Therefore, I may have to make allowances once I go to make this. I brought this person who's going to be resited onto the... Try again. I'm going to resite him on the platform eventually once all the work's done. But what I've been able to do is measure this piece along here, and this gap here is 1.8 centimetres. So we've actually got the height right. It's really just the riser levels which I'll need to try and work out. So I'll be using a pen for that. If you're really actually trying to work out how wide a step should be, or the length of a step, just try the ones in your own house if you've got any. That should give you an idea. It should be bigger than your foot and slightly bigger than maybe a size 11 shoe. So just always measure that out, and height wise should maybe come up to just above your ankle. But obviously I live in an older house from the 1920s. Your house might be more modern, so you may have different styles of stairs. But certainly that's the sort of thing I would imagine for this project. I need to cut out a template first of all, and then I'll explain what I'm going to do next. It's a good job I didn't film it, because it took several attempts to actually get this sorted out. But what we've actually got here is the two sides, and we've got the parts that sit flat on the step, and we've got the parts that are the risers of the steps. That's what we've got here. Now, one thing to point out to you is that in making these two pieces here, I've noticed that one's slightly bigger than the other. I hope that's actually going to turn out okay though. I need to now get these put together with laser cut kit glue, and then leave it to dry. It will need to be sprayed grey, and then once that's done, we'll show you the finished article as it were, and then get it put onto the layout and let you see it. That's the steps into position now. I had to remove a little bit of the cork to get them to fit in, but that's them in there. I haven't glued them down, and I won't be gluing them down for some time, because obviously the plan next year is actually to start rebuilding this concourse here. So that's why I can't go and glue those steps down yet. I want to make sure I can get this bit done before reverting back to doing the steps, getting them finally glued into position. But they're sitting there fine, and I'm quite happy with them. Just put them back on there. They were sprayed with Halford's primer, as you know, grey primer, but I'm sure any grey paint out of any shop would suffice. For the last part of this month's update, we're going to concentrate on doing some scenic work here, getting some vegetation put in, and got a couple other objects to put in as well. Now, for the last part of this month's update, this is the stuff that I'm going to be using for the scenic area at the wall. I bought these from Scenic Hobbies today, little grass tufts. I've used these before, scale model scenery bramble, and these things you're familiar with. The woodland scenics bushes and some coarse turf. You won't be familiar with these ladders. Again from Scale Model Scenery. And by the way, the links to the SMS stuff I'll put in the description below. Now, before I start using this stuff, I just want to explain about some of the things I've got to have to do with this. I don't want to have to bring it all the way out, the scenic stuff. What I am going to do is put some bushes in areas and turf, and then have it maybe clear, and then some more, mainly around here, just to simulate the sort of, how can I put it, where people have been walking, and the bushes have got trampled, so I'm not going to overdo it too much. At this part here, and to a lesser extent this part here, I will have to put a little bit more in because obviously there's no hoardings. The ladders, they'll be cut to the sort of height for putting the posters on, but they'll be lying, there'll be a couple of them randomly placed. Now the other thing to mention, it mentions about the ladders, is for these areas here, because there's no hoardings to go down, and it just involves people walking down onto the crews starting to go down to the track, it'll just be little ladders that'll be going in there, so those ladders in the future will get a good use onto here as well. The ladders themselves, as I say, I'll have excuse me, I'll probably have two cut into place, and I'm going to spray them silver, using the same silver paint as I've done on the lights. So that's what's going to happen there. The way I've got to do this here as well is the coarse turf and the bushes will need to be put into place, and then once they're into the place where I want them, they'll then have to get glued down with a PVA water mix. Once that's done, that'll be allowed to dry for a few days, and then I can add the grass tufts and the bramble. These items are all sticky back, so they just get stuck into position. Just using tweezers to do that. Now, I've previously used these from Gauge Master, but these come off when I took up the track for replacement, and I really can't use them now. So it was quite fortunate that I got the grass tufts today from Scenic Hobbies in Kirkcaldy, and link to Scenic Hobbies is in the description below as well. The first thing I've got to do is to get the ladders cut to shape. That'll be done with a craft knife, and then they'll get sprayed silver, and I'll give them a couple of coats of silver paint. I don't know how well the camera can pick this up, but that's the ladders had their first coat on one side. They'll get sprayed with another 2 coats of silver, and then once it's dried they'll be turned over and they'll get the same treatment on the other side. But they'll be going on to the layout at the very end of this Scenic Cup date, because when you think about it, you don't keep using ladders and then put them back in and the weeds grow over them, the vegetation grows in. They go into the vegetation. So that's why I'm going to stick them on last. Now, while I'm letting them dry and respraying them, a quick shout out to Scamperton Model Railway Layout, which you can find here on YouTube. It's a small layout, but I tell you, the small amount of space he's got, he's doing really well with a lot of great ideas, so I'd like you to check him out, please. And let's get his subscriber count up as well, please, folks. He's only got about 25 subscribers at the time of filming on the 21st of September 2024. Can we multiply that by 10 and get him to 250 subscribers, or get him even more than that, please? Come on, give him a look and give him a subscribe.
The next train to arrive on platform 5 terminates here. All change please on platform 5.
Now the first thing I've got to do is to apply some grass along here. In here there'll be a small concrete section that will get, maybe along here, that will get put in later on to house a junction box to do with the lights for the adverts. So there'll be vegetation all the way along here at various points. Some bits will be a bit worn than others. So it'll be the small bits of grass that will go in first, not static grass, I hasten to add. And then after that grass is in here, I'm only going to do these bits first of all, because obviously I've got to sort out other little ballast to put in here. That'll be going in there as well. I will get glued down with PVA. I won't bore you to death showing you me putting down PVA. There's plenty of videos of paint drying actually on YouTube. Trust me on that one. The PVA will go down last because I'll have to put the bushes in next. And then I'll be able to apply the PVA mix. And when I'm doing the PVA mix, I'll also do it to get it on top of these parts here, so I can then repeat the same effect with the vegetation in here. That's the PVA water mix now down, 60% PVA, 40% water. I used a syringe, but I think when I next go to Scenic Hobbies to top up my account there, I'm going to actually buy one of the little squeegee bottles that you've seen David Watson use in one of his videos at Dean Park Station for ballasting. So I think that'll be the way to go for the rest of the layout. But the glue splodges that you see there should just all dry in. Once that is glued in here and it's all in place, I'll then be able to apply more vegetation and do the same thing. Once that's done, I'll then, if I can find them, put a couple of little bits of litter, maybe a couple of bits of newspapers at the bushes, and then add the ladders in last. I've not put vegetation in here because, as I say, this is where I'm wanting to put the junction box for the electrical supply for the billboard lights. That's something that we'll be doing next month, as well as adding some stuff to the depot, but we'll talk about next month's update later on. As usual, you've maybe gathered that sometimes I tell you what I'm going to be doing the next month and the plans change. Let's hope that's not the case here. One other thing I just wanted to quickly mention to you is that sometimes you'll tend to find that when you put the PVA glue down, some of the bushes will initially move. See what I'm doing there? Just move them back into position carefully. Leave this now. It gets left for a few days. So it's a Saturday right now. I'll be back down at it on the following Friday to see how things are. But you won't have to wait that long. You'll just have to wait a few seconds, such as the power and the technological advance of the internet. Right, well that's that there all dried up now. And you can see that I've got all the all the bushes there from Woodland Scenics in place and some bits of grass. There's a couple more things I would like to add to that. And that'll be a couple of newspapers and maybe other bit of rubbish. And then I've got the two ladders, which you can see they're tall enough to do the advertising hoardings, but they're going to sit in there. But not yet, because we've got these to add in. We've got tufts of grass from Woodland Scenics. These two items, the bramble patches and the thistle tufts, you're already familiar with because I've used them on the layout already in the street scene and in parts of the depot area, so you're already familiar with them. But I'm just doing this one-handed at the moment, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move you onto here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Woodland Scenic tufts of grass. Now the product code for this is 21, no it's not, it's Foxtrot Sierra 771. It's medium green grass tufts. They're on sticky back plastic. There's the code number there for you. They're on sticky back plastic, and you just simply can peel it off either with your fingers or tweezers. There it's there, and it's sticking to me, and I'm going to just stick one right in there. You just stick them at random in a couple of places. Do another one. I'm not going to put too many of all of these down. I'll put one up here, It gives it a sort of unkempt look. I mean, why would it be looking nice, that bit? Now, the scale model scenery thistle tufts are Foxtrot Bravo 0 and 4 Oscar Oscar. Same thing, and don't worry, you won't get jagged with these thistles. A good product from scale model scenery, and there you go, that's actually the bottom of them. Just put that one right there. I'm being very careful, by the way, with where I'm putting some of these, because I've got to remember I've also got the wiring to put up, dummy wiring to install for the lights, which we'll talk about in a few minutes time. I'm just adding another one of these thistles just out of sight down here. You can't see that being done in the background, but I'll put a bit of bramble. Now, I've been very careful as well to leave one piece, I'll just use this bramble, leave one area, sorry, which is that area there you can see there, because that's where I'm going to put the junction box for the electricity supply to the lights, but that's going to be a job next month. This is the bramble bush. Where will I put it? There we go. I think that looks about okay there. Actually, I'm not sure, it's actually quite big, that. That's just better there. So there's just one last thing to do here, and then everything is done in terms of this area. I don't want to put too much in. The ladders, now I'm just putting these in by hand. One set can be left lying there, so that the painters and decorators can use them where necessary, and I'll put the other one just there. Again, I've placed them there, and I've done them after the scenic materials have gone down, because they'll get lifted up and put back into that position. So that's that area all done, and I'm quite happy with that. Now, it's a bit random, I know, but then you go and show me a forest or woodland that isn't random. There we go, that's a challenge for you. Or even waste ground that isn't random. So that completes this October update. And it gives me a chance to talk about what we're going to be doing in next month's update. Well, this retaining wall is going to get finished once and for all. I'm going to get the stuff ordered from Scale Model Scenery for it. That'll include coping stones, although as luck would have it, would you believe, I found in one of the drawers looking for something else. That's some coping stones there. So as part of the October update, they're going to get sprayed grey, and it'll be a continuation of them down there a bit. That piece came from a wall over in the retail park area, which is getting rebuilt, but that's some time away. I'm also going to get some spare dropper wires, paint them black, and have them coming down here into little boxes. And when I say boxes, I really do mean boxes, because I'm going to be getting the Scale Model Scenery cardboard boxes and using them, spraying them grey, and using them as the junction boxes instead, which will go along to a larger junction box here. Now, the observant among you will notice that I'm missing one hoarding for here. There will be one going in there eventually, not yet. So it means I can only do these four first of all, so I can actually get the placement of the wires done properly. And that is probably about what I'll be doing next month for the November update. And I've got some stuff that I need to paint up for the depot area, which will be done in the December update. So that's what's going to get to see in the next couple of months. But the main thing is, next month we're going to continue on with this scene here and get the retaining wall finished. And I've got something planned for up here as well to try and make that area quite secure, but that's for another day. You'll see that next month. Now, what I need to do just to get everything done, I'm just going to place the camera there, and we'll see what the scene looks like once the push-pull train is in. Now, I have actually cleaned the track, but I need to see what's causing this push-pull train to sometimes derail when it's coming in. I will actually confess to you right now that I have got pipe couplings on it, and you can actually just stop it there. It has derailed there a wee bit, but anyway, let's bring her in. Train locomotive propelling is 47708 Waverley, of course. Now, obviously, with a half-hourly push-pull shuttle service to Edinburgh, sometimes that would be hidden and you wouldn't actually see that, or intending passengers on the station platform would not see that. I'll just get the camera up and let you see what we're like now. So obviously the vegetation is somewhat hidden at back. There it is there. There's some of it there. And that's my steps that I've made that are going down onto there. And I'm thinking now I'll probably keep them. I like them actually there. But for the other platforms, I'm thinking about using ladders, small ladders painted black. However, that won't be done for some time yet. So that's the end of the October update. I hope you've enjoyed what you've actually seen this month, and I hope it's given you some ideas. And I hope too that you have noted things that I should be aware of as well. Please let me know if you have done so. Please also check out the other people who I've mentioned to you in this update, and I hope you enjoy what they offer as well. I shall see you all again for the November update, when I'll be doing the work that I've been mentioning to you. In the meantime, please, whatever you're doing, do take care of yourselves, won't you? And enjoy your layouts. And we'll see you soon. Cheerio.